So, our second speaker today is Aleyda Solis from Orainti.
Yes, this is one of the bad things of being a girl here with big hair, everything. Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Very good, very good.
The microphone's working. It suits
now
you.
it is working.
So, Aleyda, you're going to talk to us about how to win in a mobile search world, right?
Indeed. It's one of my favorite topics, and we will see that it's it's fundamental, it's critical now.
It is fundamental, yes.
Yeah.
Do you agree that a mobile website should load in max 1 second?
Oh, gee. You will see
long?
that. I wish, but you will see a few examples. I think that we're sadly very far away from that mark.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
But I have one question for you. What's the last thing you Googled, actually?
Actually, I searched about Star Wars. Have you watched the new trailer of the movie this morning? Yeah, so that was the first thing I did this morning, I have to say, right before coming. Yeah.
Cool. So any Star Wars fans, you know where to go during the break.
Yes.
Have fun, Aleyda. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm very, very excited to be here. It's not my first time in Sweden. I spoke in Stockholm like 3 years ago, and then also in Denmark earlier this year, but it's my first time in Malmö, and I have loved it so far. Like, it's like yesterday when I landed, and I started to walk a little bit to my hotel. It's like, coming from Spain especially, it's like, someone left the fridge open, I think. Like, very refreshing though. This morning, it's like, oh my God, all my high energy now, thanks to this fresh air, for sure. So, I told you I was a Star Wars fan. It's like, in a galaxy not that far away, actually, we're living already in this world, this type of world, where mobile has really become fundamental. It's like, it's a primary need, a real fundamental primary need. And we shouldn't actually be shocked about it. It's like there are more mobiles sold than, I don't know, candy, condoms, whatever else in the world. I think it's pretty shocking that it's not only that we engage with the mobile, but we are pretty much obsessed about it, with the type of engagement that we have with mobile devices. It's now like a primal need, like much more fundamental than Wi-Fi, because at least you can play a little bit with your mobile, like when you're like on a plane or whatever. Like, luckily, Norwegian, for you Scandinavians, you have Wi-Fi. And there's like, oh my God, it's like ideal societies. Forget about free healthcare or whatever. It's like Wi-Fi on board. Amazing, right? And this shocked me, actually, when I was looking more about, like, yeah, this has really changed our behavior, right? So I went and wanted to see, like, actual data about how we have changed with mobile devices. It's like, I was pretty shocked. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like almost a third of Americans would rather give up sex for a year than not having a mobile. It's like, of course, these are Americans, like, we can understand that. It's like 46% will be willing to give up a day off per week. It's like, where are you next? It's like, are you going to tell me that you're willing to die like a year before just to not give away your mobile? This is pretty messed up, right? And yes, it's messed up. It's definitely messed up for a few people, thankfully not for everybody. But the reality, and my point here, is that, yeah, mobile has really not only changed our behavior on a day-to-day basis, but has really influenced and has really mostly drive up to this point. The time that we had spent in digital media since 2014, I think it is. And this is a worldwide trend. This is not something that just has happened in certain countries of the world. But and not only we have used mobile devices in order to consume digital media, but actually to buy and to execute transactions online. Even in e-commerce, 20% of e-commerce activity, actions, conversions have been executed from mobile devices. And search is now driven from mobile too. like we have reached that point. And I have a few people always when I am speaking saying, Aleyda, but really like I see my Google Analytics and that's not true for me. It's like I still only have like 15%, 20% of my searches, search traffic, organic traffic coming from mobile. Of course, this can change a lot in different type of industries. It's not the same. B2C, business to consumer, for example, I have had clients that are from retail space, that are from food delivery, that are from gyms, like all local related, geolocalized type of businesses. They have a high aspect. And in general, B2C, business to consumer type of business, they have a high share of mobile traffic. B2B is a little bit different, of course. It's like one of my clients last year was a huge machinery type of clients, like Tetra Pak was their competitor, right? And of course, they are not going to buy these machines that cost millions from their mobile. It doesn't happen like that, of course. However, the reality is that they want to be there for their customers in order to provide pre-sales and post-sale support, in order to provide resources, in order to provide a reference for their big clients that spend millions with them. So what would happen? It's like, and this is very reasonable, right? Most of the searches in general are mostly happening right now from mobile devices. So what Google says you know what? It's like if searches are happening on mobile, well, we think that we should be taking mobile into consideration to rank websites. Because what a lot of people haven't been aware until now is that really what Google index, crawl, index, and access from a relevance perspective is not our mobile content, it's not our mobile web presence. They do have a mobile crawler that also is capable from a few years now to identify specific mobile content, which is great because now they are pretty much ready for a mobile first index. However, until now, despite being able to identify mobile content, they haven't until now used that mobile content to rank our sites, which is pretty scary to say so because, yeah, many people say, oh yeah, now I am mobile friendly, mobile optimized, that is why I'm ranking number 4, number 3, number 1 in my top positions there. It's like, not really. You don't really know until now if you're really that good on mobile because Google hasn't used mobile until now to rank our sites. But they are going to start doing it. They need to be consistent. If people are searching for mobile devices, they want to really rank better those sites that are very well optimized and really providing the content, the actual content that users are searching for in the mobile web presence. And this is what is going to happen likely in the following months, possibly in 2018. And this is a specific change, as you can see here, all documented. And by the way, I haven't mentioned until now, but my slides, I just tweeted them if you want to see them. All the resources, all the links, they are there. All the references, if you need to send them afterwards to your boss saying, look, it's here, we're doomed. You can send this link here. So yeah, ranking signals will come from your mobile, not your desktop. And this is happening in the next few months, right? And Google has said that this is just the next step, mobile first. At some point, there will be a mobile-only index, completely relying on your mobile web presence, which is, yeah, fundamental, as you can see right here. So, yeah, it's now or never. How many of you, if I ask, are completely sure that your mobile web presence, that your mobile website is completely optimized? Can you raise your hand? Okay, that's good. It's a good place to be at. It's like, I don't want to worry you, it's a good place to be at because I'm going to tell you now how. And this is the problem, right? A lot of people think that just because they have a responsive web design, they are already mobile optimized by default. It's like, my designer has told me that this site is mobile ready and we're mobile first. It's like telling me that you have done a good SEO just because you have a good desktop site until now. It doesn't happen like that. You need to still follow certain best practices You need to optimize certain resources, configure certain aspects of your site in order to keep all the content crawlable, indexable, and relevant, of course, taking all SEO principles to your mobile presence. And this is the main issue, right? It's like somehow a few sites have taken this lightly, like, yeah, they continue showing ads, yeah. It's not that they are like really that relevant. They are sometimes, most of the times, like highly intrusive. It's like, are you kidding me? I entered to this site, and it's like, and they have a huge video here, and then they have another ad here. It's like, and where is this actual content there? Like, because I wanted to see this hand dog mer elemindre ibarar mar thing that I was like, oh my God, super interesting. I need to see what is that about, right? So and this is like, what is wrong with these people? It's like, why do you want me to push me out of your mobile website? It's like, is really that crappy? Why you want to push me to your app? So, no wonder all of these misconfigurations that happen on mobile. They will likely not only hurt your SEO now that it will become mobile first, but they will likely also, and this can be already very likely also right now, hurting your mobile user experience. They live. If your mobile users don't actually find what they're looking for, if it takes too much time, if it is tricky, if it is hard to see, they will just leave. And of course, they won't convert, they won't buy. It's like, take a look at the gap. It's very sad, right? It's like all of this traffic now coming from mobile devices, and take a look at the conversion share. It's like the conversion rate happening on mobile, far lower than the one that we see in desktop. So what's going on here? There is this huge gap. Yes, mobile has grown a lot. Everybody's using it. We're not profiting really from it. And potentially, a lot of these people are moving to their desktop devices in order to convert. It's not necessarily realistically the best type of experience. And some of the reasons are, yes, security concerns, cannot see product detail, hello, this is because it's not really that well optimized. Navigation difficulty, maybe we should organize and reorganize our menu and the different elements and content differently based on mobile search behavior, can browse multiple screens and compare, too difficult to input details. Again, fundamental optimization and configuration aspects that not only hurt SEO, but also user experience. And this is how and why and this massive important fundamental need of becoming Jedis, I'm sorry, it's like mobile SEO specialists, and be able to understand better how we can improve our powers there. And this is where I come and help you. I am Aleyda Solis. I actually help my clients, mostly when people ask me, like when my grandma asks me, it's like, what do you do, Aleyda? It's like, I help my clients to connect with them. And this is what I do. This is what we do in SEO and in online digital marketing. Mostly nowadays, because, you know, all these people using mobile devices now. I usually help big clients, big brands that you may likely already heard of. And today, I'm very happy to be here to help you, because I'm not only saying here, it's like we are all going to die and our traffic is going to hell, but actually, I want to share a few tips on how we can maximize and make the most out of this opportunity. We should see this as actually an opportunity, and to do all this right before of our competitors, hopefully, right? So the first thing that we need to do is to make sure that we correctly configure the fundamental, the base of our mobile web presence, right? And it's like, correctly configure an accessible mobile website you must have, and this is supposed to sound like a little bit like Yoda here, but yeah, it's tricky for me because English is not my native language, so yeah, don't blame me, whatever. We have 3 types of mobile web configuration, actually. A lot of people, they only think that responsive web design is the way, but that's not true. Google support the 3 of them. Actually, They all have pros and cons, and we are going to see. So responsive web design, they use CSS media queries to reformat the content, the design, the sizes. The HTML behind, the content behind is the same. So as you can imagine, it might take a little bit longer to load again and again the same images, the same content, even if it is on desktop or mobile, right? Like, yes, there are pros and cons, I told you. But yes, it's pretty well known. The URL stays the same all the time, as you can see here, which is pretty good. There is dynamic serving too. I saw a few which, like, Swedish website is configured in this way. It's like Expressen it is. How? It's like, take a look. I mean, the URL is the same. It doesn't change based on the device. But the HTML is completely different. If you go and see the source code. And also, if you take your browser and take, like this, your browser to see if it resizes automatically using CSS media queries, it doesn't. So what do? They identify which is the device that is coming, right? It is mobile, it is desktop, it's a bot for mobile, it's a user for mobile, it's a bot for desktop, user for desktop, and based on that, they deliver, they show, they feature an HTML or another through the same URL, which is fantastic. It's like, if you don't actually know or are aware that this is possible, you will think that it's the exact same page, right? It's like, it's pretty seamless, but it can be tricky to configure, to be honest. And then, these are very well known because many old schools mobile websites use this type of configuration because it was a thing before responsive web design. Independent mobile websites. You have one URL for your desktop version, another URL for your mobile version. Each one of them use their own HTML, highly personalized to provide the best experience in this case. You can differentiate the content if you want. So for example, if you do a keyword research, an audience research, and identify that your mobile audience is searching for something specific, or you want to deliver a specific offer on mobile, dynamic serving or an independent mobile site will make the implementation rather easily. And as I mentioned, each one of them have pros and cons. Like, for example, the problem with independent mobile website is that Google will crawl twice, and you will likely need a little bit of more configurations and redirects to make sure that the accurate device sees the proper version in each case, right? The thing is, Google recognize and support any of these three, as you can see here. They just give us best practices, right? As you can see, it's like they say, look, if you have an independent mobile, you need to include the rel alternate and canonical tags and implement 201 redirects between them. If you have dynamic serving, you need to include the var HTTP header, etc., etc. There's a very well-documented specification here that you can take a look. So it has its best practices. It's not only to publish a mobile design, and that's it, as you can see. And this is one thing. One specific configuration here is like the independent mobile website configuration. It's funny, right? Because until now, again, because Google had relied on a desktop index, on mobile URLs, we actually added a canonical saying, look, my original page is the one of the desktop version. And then on the desktop URLs, we added a rel alternate saying to Google, look, my alternative version for this or the mobile devices are these other URLs. But now, the logic will change, right? It's like if we are moving to a mobile first index, the canonical, the original URL should be the mobile one, not the desktop one. But so, of course, like when Google announced this, that many SEOs ask Google people, it's like, what does this mean? It's like, do we really now need to update all these configurations? And of course, Google representatives, they are so eloquent and they go through so much in depth to explain all this. Say, no. No, but realistically, like in a Q&A that happened a few weeks ago with Gary in Brighton, and he's so nice. Like in general, he tries and he's very direct and clarifying as much as possible, especially with mobile first index. That is something that everybody's expecting. I'm not sure what's going to happen. He clarified they are really trying the most to not need to avoid asking people to change any configuration. They don't want that because they know that it's so hard. And it has taken so much effort to come to this point where we have independent mobile websites configured likely well now that they don't really want to change, to ask us to change that again. So we might not necessarily do it, and we could be okay. However, if we are expecting to migrate from an independent mobile website to a responsive one, we should likely start doing it now instead of waiting for a mobile-first index, because right now, if we do this migration, nothing will happen. It won't have an effect, direct effect on SEO, because remember that the mobile URLs are not the ones being taken into consideration on the index now. It will be very straightforward. However, if we wait for a mobile-first index to migrate from an independent mobile configuration to a responsive one, that will be a real migration when we will need to take a lot of SEO best practices. It's then critical to make sure. So even if we think that we are okay from a mobile web design perspective, to validate, this doesn't necessarily mean that we're completely mobile optimized, but we want to validate our 2 pages with Google tool, right? This is just a validation with Google tool. A lot of web designers or like purist SEOs, and it's true, it's like there are a lot of false negative here. Take a look at this, for example. This Google tool validator for mobile here, and they tell me this page is mobile friendly. Yeah, right. It doesn't even load. Yeah, but at least it shouldn't be penalized from the fundamental configuration. So Google looks into very specific configurations to identify if a website at least is mobile ready or not. If they can find a viewport tag here, there, for example, if all of the assets, CSS, JS, images are crawlable, especially important if you have a responsive web design, so they can identify the responsive web design configuration. It's also very easy to identify this if you have a Google Search Console profile. If you don't, please do have a Google Search Console profile. And you will go to the mobile usability report and identify all of the issues directly there. If the elements are too close together, the viewport is not set, text too small, content wider than the screen. You can also do this massively using tools like URL Profiler that will connect with the Google API, and for which you can crawl your site, import all your URLs, and see if they pass or not the mobile validation like this. And if they don't, you will be able to see here why, which is the aspect hurting each one of them. Also, there are more and more crawlers like DeepRoll, for example, or Sitebob here, that they support and they integrate mobile validations and configurations. The ones that Google use here, for example, you will find them here directly and see which are the URLs being hurt that don't comply in every case. Like this on DeepRoll, hey, here. Again, this tool is magnificent also because they won't only look into the configurations that Google validated, which are pretty fundamental basics, but they will look further an actual configuration, if it has a separate desktop, separate mobile, AMP HTML, is it responsive, there is a Vara user agent configured, what is the viewport settings, header content type, like every single aspect that you can configure from a mobile perspective on your pages, right there. If I ask you, which are the top and most important devices used on your site? How many of you know this type of information here? How many of you go into Google Analytics and will be able to tell me, look, my top 3 devices are this, this, and this. Go, like after you finish this, go and take a look. Which are the actual mobile devices that are bringing the traffic, organic or generic? Which are those? This is fundamental because like this is that you will be able to emulate. And to emulate, you don't really need many tricky, like specialized tools. You only need to go to Google Chrome, right-click and inspect, and you will be able to go to Chrome DevTools. You will click here in these devices icons, and you will be able to select any type of devices. I am emulated the iPhone 6 Plus here, and I am seeing like the sweat bank because I wanted to see where you all had your money. I guess that you can also like do transactions from your mobile devices too, because it does have a nice mobile version there, right? All emulated from your Google Chrome. So those devices that you identify that your users actually use, besides just validating with the crawler, you want to actually see how they look. You want to double verify for your top pages, your money-making pages, your homepage, your product, your main categories, the pages that your users actually use across the customer journey. So is your mobile web effectively configured? If it passes all these validations, that's a first step. You still need more, but that's a first step. A second step, fundamental for mobile first, is that your content should be findable on your mobile website. And this, you will tell me like, duh, Aleyda, this, what I am, stupid? How your mobile wouldn't be findable on your mobile website? Somehow. Some people, they think that the way to be mobile optimized and to load fast is just to take all the content away on mobile. And yes, I went to this ticket.se website and take a look at how the mobile version of this page it is. How Google will be able to rank this page on a mobile first index. They won't, because there's no content there. Hopefully, none of the ticket.se people is here. Hopefully, the competitors are. You're able to do things. Probably. Let's see. But this is what you need to avoid. Really. This is why many pages are doomed, because yes, they're mobile friendly, but they don't have anything to show how Google will rank this page, really. So if your mobile URLs, your mobile pages have less content, if you, for example, a lot of developers also, they love to eliminate additional things that they have on the HTMLs, like structured data. Eliminate from mobile HTMLs. It's like, no, 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 because these are the elements that Google will take now into consideration to rank your site. So if you don't have them on your mobile, well, you will be pretty much screwed from that sense. Something that was not correct that Google will recommend against on desktop was this: to hide your content by using usually CSS, visibility hidden, display none, on divs, right? But the content was there. Like, you really just wanted to, you know, you wanted to fake engagement by making users to click, but yeah, whatever. Like, Google has says, look, you know what? We understand that there are more limitations on mobile devices, so they will actually allow and be okay with this happening on mobile. Not on desktop right now, but on mobile, yes. So if you at some point have spaces issues, not enough room to feature all your content, and a hard time to do it, no problem. You can do this. You can hide a little bit of your content required to click in order to show it all. As long as it is there on mobile first, it will be okay. At least from a Google perspective, from an engagement perspective, for a user perspective, you need to ask which is the content that really you need to continue and to keep showing all the time, because it's likely the one that will connect with your user intent. We are going to see that. And what is critical is that all the crawling, the validation, the technical configurations that we follow on desktop, we also do it on mobile and compare it and identify that it's still there. So for example, things like this, Google has already started to penalize this. Pop-ups, interstitials, why? Because it makes it harder for the crawlers and the users to actually reach the real content. So Google launched this update, the pop-up update on mobile, the app pop-up update, because there are a lot of websites like trying to push their apps like this, remember? So Google said, you know what? Since January, they started penalizing this, and they say, you know, if you want to push or promote your app, you can do it like H&M here with an app banner. It's not intrusive. It's very visible. It invites users to download your app, so you achieve that goal. Not like them. Don't do this. Why? This is what happened when Google launched their update back in January, the pop-up filter. Bye-bye mobile visibility, because they were penalized. You don't want that. It's necessary if you can achieve, and this is the one thing about SEO and marketing in general. We can achieve the same goal in so many different ways. It's about being creative and connect with our users, right? So what do we need to do at a massive scale? We need to crawl our site as if we were the mobile crawler with mobile devices to reach all of our content and identify and validate if it is correct or not. If we have any technical issues, why are these resources blocked? How is this mobile page render? Because we can enable here JS rendering here, because now Google has the capacity in many cases to understand JS. Why are these URLs returning errors here when you crawl them as a mobile bot? Why are these URLs non-indexed? And I crawl the Zalando website in Sweden. What's going on? How are these correctly canonicalized? Remember that mobile URLs should be canonicalized to the desktop versions. Like, many of these are not. What's going on? So yes, they had a nice looking mobile version here, but that doesn't mean that it's correctly configured. So we need to make sure that this is still accessible and relevant. Also, not only from a user, but from a bot perspective. The bot tries to go there, but still like a little bit of a dumb user. So we need to help the bot. We need to configure all the technical aspects of our site well. What these pages don't have titles, and why these titles, are these really relevant? Sadly, my Swedish is not that good yet to know if they are or not. So it's about following the same SEO best practices that you have been using in desktop, but taking them to your mobile presence and do a comparison. At least at the beginning, a gap comparison to understand what's the difference between them, if there is any, if the same pages are reachable, if they are configured in the same way, if the content is optimized in the same way, if the content is included in the same way too, or not. So yes, that's the next step, to verify that these pages are indexable or not, if they are correctly configured or not. But then again, we need to understand that mobile users have their own intent. May or may not necessarily. We need to validate. Do they really search in different ways? Like, and we may not necessarily be sure. Sometimes it's easier than others to understand, sadly. So this is very important. By doing this type of research, by trying to understand our mobile audience preferences and search behavior, it's not only to optimize and tweak a little bit the title, the meta description, etc. It's to really reorganize and reformat the content of a mobile web presence, because the space there will be more precious. It's much more critical, I will say, to really understand what they really want to be able to deliver. So we have already that data, at least the initial input. If we go to the Google Search Console, to the Search Analytics report, we can select the devices here and compare which are the terms that are mostly used, the impressions and the clicks, the click-through rate, and the average position that we have for each one of them in each devices. We can do the same with our competitors, Systrix, and they do support Sweden. They provide mobile keyword data. Take a look for any website. I can go and take a look at which are the top terms from mobile. This like pajamas, H&M, really. It's like people are like sleeping, like looking for pajamas, buying pajamas from my bed. Yeah, very funny, but they actually look for this. Are these the same terms that they look from desktop? And take a look at which are the URLs that are being ranked here. Yeah, mobile URLs. They are correctly configured. Which are the same features? Because you don't only want to maximize your visibility with rankings, but you want to understand which are the elements and the type of content and the format that you should be able to generate and promote, and how you need to mark up these pages to maximize in general the visibility on mobile search rankings, which is like trickier to see, I will say. You can do again the same with SEMrush because they allow us again, and I love that now there is this huge source of mobile data. As you can see here, there is a mobile segmentation for Sweden too, to identify which are not only our own keywords, but compared with the ones of our competition, and start away. Let's validate. Through the customer journey, from discovering the brands, validating prices, to the actual transaction type of searches and queries. We need to establish patterns. We need to identify for each type of term that is used for our business and generate permutations. This is the type of process that you likely are already doing on desktop, but in this case, we will take the extra mile. How? We will generate ideas for each category, each type of product, each characteristic like this, and you will say, Aleyda, this is stupid. This is pretty straightforward. You should go just backpack sales and travel backpacks. Is travel backpacks the one that you should push further, the one that you should really have on the backpacks category with higher visibility because it has more search volume? Surprise, surprise. This is not true when you segment per device. And this is why it's important that all of this keyword research that we're doing nowadays, we go and take the step further to segment and validate what are the actual share of searches per device. In this case, in the Google Keyword Planner, we see that the one that is really, really searched from mobile devices is the offering one, and this is the one then that we need to prioritize, that we need to give more visibility on mobile devices specifically. Right? So it's about really understanding and connecting better with our mobile search audience by not only optimizing and tweaking the already existing content, but creating, organizing, and formatting the content to really fulfill their specific need. And last but not least, it's about mobile speed. Surprise, surprise, I can imagine that you already knew that I was going to come to this point because of this. Very well-known data. I love how Google share all of this tests that they do and data that they gather and think with Google there. It's like pretty straightforward. It's like, it's horrible, not only from an engagement perspective, from a loyalty perspective, for our users' health. Pretty much a lot of our customers are going to the psychologist just because of us. It's like, experiencing mobile delays cause more stress than watching a horror movie. Waiting in the line at a retail store. Can you believe it? It's crazy. It's worse than a divorce, it seems. It's like, what are you telling me? Worse than giving birth? No, not that bad. But yeah, I mean, experiencing mobile delays can cause a lot of stress. So people expect to load pages in less than 2 seconds. This is data from a few years ago. It seems that we're going a little bit more picky as time passes by. And we are going to see that the 1 second expectation, yeah, not fulfilled at all in any industry. And pages are really, really far to reach that point. So, of course, that costs money, a lot of money. Yeah, normal. And now Google says that they are going to take mobile speed into consideration on a mobile first index. Because a lot of people thought that they were already taking speed into consideration for rankings, and no, mobile one at least no, a very clear no. So we really screw, many of us at least. It's tricky. So how long do you think that the H&M homepage takes to load? Less than 2 seconds? Raise your hand. Less than 5 seconds. Yeah? 5 seconds. And I love this tool by Google because they don't only tell you the amount of time that any page takes to load, but they actually tell you what's the percentage of visitors that will likely leave because of this, and what is the industry comparison if you really suck compared with your likely to be competitors, right? Is good or not? Like, let's see. The Aftonbladet page, do you think that it loads under 5 seconds? Yeah? Yeah, not that good. Yeah, between fair and poor. A little bit It needs a little bit of work. And the let's deal side. I love Chewbacca. He's the best. He's so naive and innocent. He expects the best, but like, less than 5 seconds. Yeah? Less than 8 seconds. Yeah? Okay. Surprise, surprise. It doesn't even load. How horrible is this? Disappointed. And so, what about your own site? I don't care about them. Your own site. Hopefully, none of you are from Let's Deal. Move on. So, again, you can go to Google Analytics, go to speed suggestions, you go to your top pages, those with highest page views right here, and take a look at the average page load time, directly connecting with Google PageSpeed Insights tool that will suggest. You can also crawl again, and most crawler like Deep Crawl or Sitebulb would integrate, and we have this type of reporting to really tell you which are the levels and which are the type of pages that are causing more speed issues. And we'll directly tell you and recommend on the different type of configuration that you should change per URL in those ones that have been identified to have issues. So it's pretty straightforward, again. But you need to crawl your site with a mobile crawler in order to really identify these issues on mobile URLs, if these are different from the desktop ones. And again, with the Chrome DevTools, you have a nice tool here, a nice feature called Lighthouse, now completely integrated there. You go to the audits panel right here, you load any page, and 29 seconds, what are you telling me? Yes, but it will tell you all of the opportunities, a full diagnostic, and will specify which are the elements with issues right there. And you have here many resources. The ideal scenario here is to optimize the speed of your own mobile presence. You need to follow, of course, it's like WPO, Web Speed Optimization Best Practices. But the problem is that many websites, they cannot do this. They have a lot of restrictions. Big websites, they have a lot of problems with flexibility. Small websites, they don't have resources. They're poor. So it's very tricky. It's pretty straightforward to say, oh, implement the cache. Yeah, like minify, externalize, etc. But it's difficult to implement. And this is where AMP comes. And Google say, look, I will provide you this option to really make your pages fast. So what they have done is to generate this additional structure that we can connect with our pages. It's really just like simplified already by default optimized HTML that will run on Google Cache using also resources, JS. These are already optimized by default. And as you can see here, even if you have a big website, big media website, like in this case, it will highly benefit. And like in this case, Business Insider, you see, they have their own mobile URLs, they have their AMP URLs going on here. AMP is just really like an alternate, and it will be marked as an alternate of the canonical original one that is here, so it doesn't replace your mobile URLs, because a lot of people think, oh, this is my mobile version. It's not. And let's clarify, it's not your mobile version. However, it's a nice extension to have if you are a content-heavy website. Why? Because of this. Take a look, from 11 seconds to 2 seconds. It's crazily fast. So the experiences might not be necessarily the best. There is always a trade-off, as we are going to see, but it's again and again always fast. And it's even faster because Google used their own CDN. I mean, they displayed, and this is what a lot of people, they don't necessarily like. They will display your AMP pages under their own domain there. Yeah, not necessarily that nice to share, but it will be even faster. Super fast. So, yeah, AMP usage is not a ranking factor, as you can see here. And Google has said, look, don't think that AMP will replace having a mobile site. It's not. And they won't index AMP on a mobile first index, so let's be clear. However, it has been like it has been massive in the last month, how especially news site and media site have started using it because it has been made a requirement to be included in the news carousel. And the visibility there is really, really good. It's very good, not only for a big media site, but for any blog to be included there. And actually, it's being marked here in organic results. So it's not only to be shown in the carousel, but when Google identifies that you have an AMP URL, it will show it directly because it will load much more faster than used. So you can see here, the usage spike is crazy. The type of results that you can get, even if it's not only in the carousel, the organic ones, I have websites like this, that the AMP traffic surpass a lot and visibility and clicks than the ones of the actual website. It's just crazy. All of the big medias in many, many countries worldwide have already jumped in the bandwagon because they want to profit from it. It's booming. However, it really shocked me when I went and checked Swedish big media sites. None of them were using AMP. So I don't know if it is because they are already super fast and they don't care, or if any of you here are here, go back tomorrow and do this, and you will be placed right there where they are not. So AMP is not a solution for your original site page speed, but it's a mobile web speed add-on. In fact, like the father of responsive web design, and many people from the design world, they don't like AMP because they say that it's a sacrifice to the open web. And it also provides an inconsistent mobile user experience, as I said here, but it's always about a little bit of a trade-off, right? So you shouldn't use AMP as a silver bullet speed solution, but you can definitely make the most out of it. Just let's be aware of a few things to avoid this type of experience. There was this website that was an e-commerce-driven website. They wanted to implement a lot of things with AMP. Of course, it didn't go well. It was not necessarily meant for them. So use AMP when your own mobile speed sucks and when you can improve it and or want to be included in the news carousels, doing the following. First, you need to verify that all of your components, your features, your content can be really supported by AMP. You really want this. You really want to give consistency from a user experience and functionality experience to your users. Avoid this. You know, it's like I had a client, and it's like, oh my God, Aleyda, I don't know why my bounce rate is so high with AMP. Maybe it's because you don't have a menu on the AMP version. Oh yes, it's because when we implemented it, Google didn't have, and AMP didn't have the AMP components for hamburger menus. So it's like, okay, but that changed like 6 months ago. Go and implement those now. It's like, you don't want that. Avoid having AMP when you have an independent mobile URL. Why? Because you will have this type of structure and different type of experiences and inconsistencies that you will give to your users, mobile users. You don't want this. It's too complex. It's too damn hard to understand and keep and maintain. Like, let's avoid this. Also, if you don't really necessarily like the experience that you give on AMP, but you want to really profit on AMP, you can do this, like Reddit, very smart people. They will rank with their AMP URLs, as you can see, and if the user really wants to learn more, they drive the user to their actual mobile pages. Like this, they profit from AMP, they give a super fast experience on the Google search results, they take the user to the actual mobile site. And again, you should actually identify if there's opportunity out there. Maybe a lot of the news sites in Sweden, they haven't do it, they haven't jumped on the bandwagon because they haven't seen that people like are actually going to be coming to AMP. And there is a very straightforward way to do it with Systrix. You can see AMP results for any of your queries, and you can do the same for your competitors right there to see if there's any AMP being shown in like for any type of feature, really. This is fantastic. And of course, when you implement AMP, you need to validate, which is rather pretty easily, again, with SEO crawlers that will mark the issues for every single page. And this is very common. Don't worry, though. When you implement, you will be able to monitor the errors in the Google Search Console, which will likely go high at the beginning. But you need to tackle the critical ones here. That are the ones that will cause that Google will show your results, and prioritize them. And finally, last but not least, you also need to track your pages. And this was a big problem with AMP, because until like 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, Google didn't provide a way to measure what happened on their CDN. So there was likely a duplication problem with users versus sessions right there. This is not the case now. You can, but you need to configure this. You need to opt in on the AMP API ID configuration, and you need to, well, take a few steps further if you really want to track what is happening with your pages with a Google CDN. But to really measure a little bit more accurately what is happening on your page. And this just like, because I already like overextended on my time, like these are just like the fundamental with AMP. I did a full presentation about AMP in Brighton SEO that you can go and take a look at. Here's the URL. And the time is sadly up. I cannot stay much longer. I don't want to be kicked out. I need to go and drink a little bit more coffee after having talked for more than 45 minutes. But there's much more about mobile first and win on a mobile first index, of course. So here are the questions that you need to ask. And here are the tools that you can use to answer them. And these are the type of results that you can see. We don't need to wait for mobile first index to see this growth, to see this profit on mobile organic only, to see this trend. I'm pretty sure that at least the highlights I have been able to provide to you today, and hopefully, if you have any question, don't worry. There is a little break right now. You will be able to ask me. Tak.